कंज लोचन कंज मुख कर कंज पद कंजारुणम।
नव कंज लोचन कंज मुख कर कंज पद कंजारुणम।
नव कंज लोचन कंज मुख कर कंज पद कंजारुणम।
नव कंज लोचन कंज मुख कर कंज पद कंजारुणम।
श्री रामचंद्र कृपालु भज मन हरण भव भय दारुणम।
श्री रामचंद्र कृपालु भज मन हरण भव भय दारुणम।
श्री रामचंद्र कृपालु भज मन हरण भव भय दारुणम।
श्री रामचंद्र कृपालु भज मन हरण भव भय दारुणम।
प्रभु के ये वाक्य सुनकर के उद्धव जी ब्रिज में गए और उद्धव जी ने गोपियों से कहा, सुन गोपी हरि को संदेश, सुन गोपी हरि को संदेश। आ सुन गोपी हरि को संदेश, सुन गोपी हरि को संदेश। करि समाधि अंतर्गति चितवा, करि समाधि अंतर्गति चितवा। प्रभु को यह उपदेश, प्रभु को यह उपदेश। हरि को संदेश, सुन गोपी हरि को संदेश। वे अविगत अविनाशी पूरन, वे अविगत अविनाशी पूरन। घट घट रहे समाय, घट घट रहे समाय। तिहि निश्चय के ध्यावहु ऐसे, तिहि निश्चय के ध्यावहु ऐसे। सुचित कमल मन लाय, सुचित कमल मन लाय। हरि को संदेश, सुन गोपी हरि को संदेश। तिहि निश्चय के ध्यावहु ऐसे। सुचित कमल मन लाय। हरि को संदेश, सुन गोपी हरि को संदेश। यह उपाय करि बिरहत जोगी, बिरहत जोगी। हाँ, यह उपाय करि बिरहत जोगी। मिले ब्रह्म तब आए, मिले ब्रह्म तब आए। तत्व ज्ञान बिन मुक्ति न हो, संदेश दुसह माधव के। सुनत संदेश दुसह माधव के, गोपी जन पिल खानी, गोपी जन पिल खानी। सूर बिरह की कौन चलावे, सूर बिरह की कौन चलावे। नैन ढरत अति पानी, नैन ढरत अति पानी। हरि को संदेश सुन गोपी, हरि को संदेश। आ हरि को संदेश सुन गोपी, हरि को संदेश। निधा गम पम गम पद पम गम पनि नि 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 ध ध पद म प गम पद पम गम ग पम पम ध पम गम गरे सा। हरि को संदेश सुन गोपी, हरि को संदेश। हरि को संदेश सुन गोपी, करी समाधि अंतर्गत चितवा। करी समाधि अंतर्गत चितवा। प्रभु को यह उपदेश, प्रभु को यह उपदेश। हरि को संदेश सुन गोपी, हरि को संदेश सुन गोपी। करी समाधि समाधि समाधि। करी समाधि अंतर्गत चितवा। करी समाधि अंतर्गत चितवा। प्रभु को यह उपदेश, प्रभु को यह उपदेश। हरि को संदेश सुन गोपी, हरि को संदेश सुन गोपी, हरि को संदेश, हरि को संदेश, हरि को संदेश। हम सो कहत कौन की बातें, हम सो कहत कौन की बातें। कहत कौन की बातें, हम सो कहत कौन की बातें। सुनी उधो हम समझत नाही, सुनी उधो हम समझत नाही। फिर पूछती हैं ताते, फिर पूछती हैं ताते। हम सो कहत कौन की बातें, हम सो कहत कौन की बातें। कोरिप भयो कंस किन मार्यो, कोरिप भयो कोरिप भयो कंस किन मार्यो। वसुदेव सुत आई, वसुदेव सुत आई। यहाँ हमारे परम मनोहर, यहाँ हमारे परम मनोहर। जीजत है मुख चाही, जीजत है मुख चाही। कहत कौन की बातें, हम सो कहत कौन की बातें। सुनी उधो हम समझत नाही, सुनी उधो हम समझत नाही। सुनी उधो हम समझत नाही, सुनी उधो हम समझत नाही। फिर पूछती हैं ताते, हाँ फिर पूछती हैं ताते। हम सो कहत कौन की बातें, हम सो कहत कौन की बातें। दिन प्रति जात सहज गोचारन, दिन प्रति जात सहज गोचारन। गोप सखालय संग, गोप सखालय संग। बासरगत रजनी मुख आवत, बासर
प्रणाम महाराज। ओम सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम। पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वाम् अनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम्। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम्। My namaskars to you all who are listening this talk on Srimad Bhagavad Gita. We are towards the end of this 6th chapter, the Shashtodhyayah, the Dhyana Yoga. The name of this Adhyaya is Dhyana Yoga. Until now we have seen that in response to the question of Arjuna, the doubt cited by the Arjuna, Bhagavan responds to him that a person who had given himself to do even a little good, Kalyana Krut, that person will not go to the bad ways, Durgatim. He will not go to the Durgati. That he will be born either in the prosperous family or in the families of the yogis, where the intelligence from his previous life will be carried forward to him. Tatratam buddhi sanyogam labhate paurvadehikam. Paurvadehikam, that is of the previous life. Purvadeha, that is paurvadehikam. And thence onward, he will again start striving for sansiddhi, for the perfection, the comprehensive perfection, samyak siddhi, that now no corners will be left unattended. Tato bhuya, thence onward, yatate cha tato bhuya, he will start begin his effort once again, bhuya. And Bhagavan in that he said in that context that individual having received that intelligence from his previous birth, he will be, due to the force of the habit, purvabhyasena, purva, that earlier, abhyasa, the practice, the force of habit. Now that habit he will experience, that force of habit he will experience. In what way? That he will be as if forcefully taken away, as if not in the control, avashopi, as if not in the control, avashopi saha, that person will be carried away forcefully, where in the direction of the goal. to which he had strived and then digressed from there. He could not complete or attain the task, the objective. Now, Bhagavan had said that such a person, now again this is to the response of, in response to the doubt cited by Arjuna. Bhagavan is saying that even person who is even a beginner, even if he is a beginner on this path, on this quest of the truth, Jidnyasu. So even he is a beginner, he is far better, still higher than the person who is just engrossed in rituals, Shabda Brahma Ativartate, that only following some dogmas and rituals which are just external, these are pacifying, consoling to many. And there are many good people we find satisfied with this and living a good life, having a good character. In spite of that, the person who has begun this path of search after truth, Jidnyasu, this person, this latter person, is certainly greater, higher than one who is just satisfied, only engrossed, confined to the rituals and dogmas. Shabda Brahmati Vartate. Shabda Brahma, this word generally refers to the the portion of the Vedas which is called as Karma Kanda, where words are very important. So words itself, they are equalized with the Brahman. Shabda is Brahman. So these are the Purva Mimamsakas or Karma Kandins. So the majority portion of the Vedas which occupies the ideas about how to do different yagas and yajnas for the different fruits, the benefits on this earth and hereafter. So such a person who is after these things only, so this latter person is still better than him. The person who has begun his quest after the truth. That is the meaning. Jidnyasurapi yogasya Shabda Brahmati Vartate. Now, we saw that until here we had seen, and this 45th verse we had touched a bit. Now, here Bhagavan had said, Prayatnat yatamanastu yogi samshuddha kilvisha aneka janma sansiddho tato yati param gatim. This is the 45th verse. Now, what Bhagavan is saying, that yatamanah, that person continuing in his effort, yatna, yata, that is practice, striving, effort, and yatamana, who is effortful, that person, that effortful person, yatamana, prayatnat, and due to the virtue of his tremendous efforts, prayatnat, that yatamana, that person, such a yogi, he becomes samshuddha kilbishah. Now kilbishah is what can be said as muck or dirt, that is kilbishah. If it touches anything, it becomes dirty, it is not pure, kilbishah. And here Bhagavan is saying he becomes samshuddha kilbishah, that he becomes taintless, or stains are removed of where. Now here certainly we are not talking about clothes or any other external thing. Here we are talking about the heart, the mind. And in this context, I had said in the last class that this part is something to be understood and given thought to. What is becoming purer at heart? What is becoming samshuddha kilvisha? Becoming free of all taints. So how does this happen? This I said. The most, and I had said that, mentioned in this context, that see, doing good thing does not wipe out if any wrong thing is done. So karma remains. Once it is done, it cannot be erased. That is for sure. So This idea is for the beginners or the children's, that you might have done something wrong. So do some kind of, I have cheated some fellows, robbed somebody's wealth. So do some dana, yajna, etc. and console yourself. It's all right for the beginners. That it does not, but Karma Yoga says that it does not relieve you. That is one karma, this is another karma. In case of ourselves, what we do if something wrong happens through our hand, we mostly after some time forget about it. And then again, we do not have any compunction or any ill feeling about that. Something wrong happened through me, through my hands. Now, at that moment, I might have thought, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Shouldn't have done that way. You might feel some kind of regret, sorrow, grief, etc. Some feeling that you shouldn't have done that way. You shouldn't have used such harsh words, etc., etc. Or you should have perhaps done something which you didn't do. So one of the few cases. Now, what happens with just some time passes away depending upon the thing. What happened, how serious it was, how intensely it emotionally affected me, depending upon that, depending upon the sensitivity of the person, etc. How tangible are its results, or how it affected the other people, depending upon these factors. With course of time, I forget that. All right? And I am again free of all guilt, as nice as ever. This is the story of ordinary human beings, isn't it? Now, in the case of yogi, now there is some difference, because there is something extraordinary about that person rather than the most ordinary people like us. And what is that? Now, in spiritual life, the real worth of this karma, its results, we come to understand, we come to know, and we have to face that. The greatest, if punishment or the fruits of our own karma, if they are to be something, it is that we have to face them. They simply do not go away. What happens? It is like in spiritual life, in that quest for the truth, quest for the perfection, that your path to that spiritual illumination, it is like going to the source from where it has all begun. It is like that. As if an equation is given to you to balance. So there are addition, subtraction, multiplication, divisions. If that has to be brought to its original value, so all counter things must be done. Where there is addition, that must be subtracted. If something is subtracted, then that must be added. If something is multiplied, that must be divided. If something is divided, that must be again multiplied to bring back its original value, from which everything began. Now this all impressions, the karma phala I have spoken in earlier, there are two fruits of actions. Generally, we talk about, you consider that the whole world is one thing and yourself as another thing. Divide this, everything, whatever existence is, in these two things, asmat and yushmat. Now, whenever work is done by an individual, I have this knowledge as an individual. I can understand this is me and this is rest of everything. Asmat, yushmat. Me and the world, everything else. Me in the sense, now here my mind. When me, that ego which is identifying with this body and mind this complex, body mind complex, my intellect, my feelings, my emotions, my memories. So one fruit of action is when something is done. It is like, you can say, a moment of instance which is perfect in itself. You do something and there that equilibrium is disturbed, so there is going to be ripple. This is called this. When I do something, there is an action, there is a stimuli, there is going to be respond into this, the world, and it will come back to me in a kind of form of situation. Now this is uncontrollable. In 18th chapter in Bhagavad Gita itself, we will see that in the second chapter also Bhagavan said to Arjuna that Gahana Karmano Gati. Arjuna, it is beyond the power of human computation that you cannot decipher what is karma, akarma, or vikarma. It is very difficult. How the fruits of this action which you have committed will result into. Bhagavan said that these things are to be known, karma, akarma, and vikarma, but this karma's gati is very difficult to know. Gahana karma no gati. So this, because there are in 18th chapter, as I just mentioned, there are 5 factors apart from the karta which affects the fruit of any action, result of any action. So what result it will bring, it is difficult to compute. This is one side of the fruits of action. This is one side in the world, in the other than you. But there is also a result of an action which is upon yourself, which is within you, within your mind. It is called as that samskara, impression. It's not like in your account book or treasury book it is mentioned. What you do, there are 2 then results, one in the world and one within yourself. That is called as sanskara, which is, and all the sanskaras are stored, and the storage is called as chitta, repository of all your sanskaras. The sanskaras make your character, make what you are. So as I said, so most dominant things, they remain on the surface, and rest of majority of it, most of it remain in the subconscious. You forget and you are as cheerful as ever, as if nothing wrong has ever happened. But for the yogi, now who has to walk back all the path, he will have to face everything of it. All will be churned up. Everything will be brought to the surface. And what is looking very nice and sweet and rosy will be totally perturbed and will become like a hell. So as a yogi who is practicing on this path of concentration, this spiritual journey who is undertaking, he will have to face himself. He will have to accept himself. He will have to admit his faults, his errors. He will have to forgive himself. Himself or herself. Not to be very gender particular. So for any individual, he will have to let go. He will have to walk that path. And as and how this person, as if it happens again in front of him, he has to go through that past, through that experience again. He has to witness as if whatever that incident might be, and whatever in that incident this individual has earlier acted. Now he remains calm and accepts, just as a nature does not identify, does not feel grudge, guilt, or any association with it, and let it drop. And then he can move forward. So this is how this process, that his mind throws it up again and again and again. This we and this person, he constantly is practicing one idea, that he is the truth, he is not the body mind complex, or he is the devotee of God only. So might be from the perspective of devotion, from the perspective of, maybe from the perspective of the jnana or dhyana or karma. He tried to get himself established, rooted in the truth, and disowns the non-truth. And this dissociation, this the mind is all the time stimulating, inciting, provoking him, good, bad, whatever, wherever he has felt that association, that persuasion, that influence, and he has become emotional, overwhelmed. Mind will try to provoke it, and he stands still and let it go. Let it go. He does not again associate himself with those ideas, and that's how this purification process takes a very intensive, long, and arduous test of that individual. You might remember that you might have heard that story of Bhagawan Buddha, that before he sat for, he made a vow to himself and sat under that tree, Bodhi Vriksha, and he decided that unless I have the illumination, I will not leave this seat, even if my bone goes to dust. In that way. And towards the end of the night, his mind was ruffled with very intense kind of emotions, thoughts, ideas. That mind was trying to upset him from his seat. But Buddha didn't leave the seat. He termed his, in that allegorical language, that intense kind of Mara. He gave the name Mara. Probably that moment it was testing him. Buddha had almost 6 years. He has done tremendous austerities. He was completely emaciated, that person. And at that time, that Kama, that Mara is testing his mind. From where it is bringing up all that thing? It is from the Chitta. It is throwing it up. Maybe trying to discourage or allure on whatever ways. Trying to dissuade Buddha. Buddha didn't yield. He stayed calm. And then only near the dawn, his mind merges into nirvana. He attains the highest illumination. So, Samshuddha Kilvisha, this idea of purity, is a very great thing. It is just not just nice, sweet talk, very nice way you dress, very nice, suppose garland, some other kind of decoration you do, and it gives you a very nice feeling. That and all is all right. It helps any individual. The idea of purity is this. The idea of purity by any other means, if it is other than by rooting yourself into the truth, is going to be challenged and going to be disturbed, and will not amount to spirituality or your further progress, will not add or further your deliverance, your emancipation, or your elimination, your knowledge. Whatever path you might have taken. So, it is like one sword is given to you, and with that one sword, you are cutting everything else. You are fighting all your enemies. So, like your mantra. So, many times they are very few syllables, but they all the time mantra. That's why it is called as mantra. It is called as some cryptic formula. It all the time tells the same truth. All philosophy is condensed in that few syllables. That the disciple repeats the mantra, contemplates its meaning, try to put his mind or dissolve his mind into that meaning. The way this all samsara proceeds is due to the ignorance. He shades the ignorance and establishes, he affirms the truth only. That neti, neti, naham, naham. That this is not me. This is not the truth. A devotee will say, tuhu, tuhu, that God, you alone exist. Or the Gyani will say, the truth alone exists. This is not the truth. This is not the truth. So, path may be of any form. The essential practice is this. This is how the Sanshuddha Kilvisha Yatamanaha, that continuously is practicing, effortful, that yogi, and due to the virtue of his tremendous austerities, his practice, prayatnat, he becomes Sanshuddha Kilvisha. He then, thus, he becomes totally purified. He is firmly, what does it mean totally purified? He is firmly established into the truth. He does not anymore identify with the dream. This body which is born, which is reared, and which has gone through various experiences of the world, now is free of that. So, this is the idea of Samshuddha Kilvisha. And here Bhagavan says again, Aneka Janma Samsiddha Tato Yati Param Gatim. That many births it takes. Many births it takes. Aneka Janma. And after the practice of many lives, many births, he becomes Tato. He becomes Samsiddha. Perfect, comprehensively. That now there is no fear, no aspects are left behind to be attained to. There is no trickery anymore. That it is not something he has avoided, escaped, safeguarded himself. Now he has perfected. Absolutely samsiddha. And thus tatah yati param gatim. Thus he goes to the highest. Thus he goes to the highest param gatim, to the path of the param, or to the highest path, to the highest objective. Whatever a human being can aspire to attain, he attains that. Tato yati param gatim. There is nothing higher than that. So this is how Bhagavan says. This is the 45th verse. And now, as if Bhagavan is giving concluding remarks in these two verses. So what does he say? Tapasvibhyo dhiko yogi jnanibhyopi matodhikah karmibhyashchadhiko yogi tasmad yogi bhavarjuna. Tapasvibhyo adhiko yogi. So Bhagavan is saying that yogi is regarded as superior to those who practice asceticism, also to those who have obtained wisdom, jnani, jnani bhyopi matodhikah. Mata, that is my opinion. Karmi bhyashchadhiko yogi, that karmis, he is also superior to the karmis. And tasmad yogi bhavarjuna. So what Bhagavan is saying here, the people who are just committed to austerities, tapasvibhyo dhiko yogi, that yogi is superior to the tapasvis. So what meaning is driven here? Jnanibhyopi matodhikah. He is also superior to the jnanis. Karmibhyashchadhiko yogi. So he is also superior, the yogi is also superior to the karmis. And therefore, tasmat, yogi bhava Arjuna. Hey Arjuna, become the yogi. So what meaning we should take, we should derive from this? So Bhagavan Sri Krishna is not comparing or denouncing anyone. The principal idea here is the people who are just committed to austerities, thinking these austerities will attain them probably the highest good. And many times, when there is this lack, this factor of where Bhagavan had said just a while ago in the 44th verse, Jidnyasurapi yogasya, where this quest for truth is lacking, where this quest for truth, this pursuit for truth is lacking, then all this tapasya of tapasvits, this jnana of jnanits, and this karma of karmits, they always have some ulterior and some worldly motives. Tapasvis are doing tapasya for some kind of siddhi, some kind of power, extraordinary power of maybe of forcing things, maybe of other means knowing somebody's heart, future, past, having some control that whatever he say that other person will do, different kinds of power. Sri Ramakrishna is to refer them as Ashta Siddhis. That Yoga Sutra, Patanjali Yoga Sutra, therein there are 4 cantos. Third canto is Vibhuti Pada. It all the time it deals with whatever this yogic power, this mastered through Samadhi Pada. The first pada or first quarter is Samadhi Pada. So that person can do extraordinary thing. It is exploring or expounding what are the human possibilities if somebody masters the mind. Like if he meditates on an elephant, he can have a power of an elephant, that kind of ideas. So it is, it is science, and it is showing that various kinds of possibilities are there. Whereas in Kaivalya Pada, the last cantos, it shows that is not the way, that is not the aim. Whereas the sadhana or this yoga, this practice of yoga, it is not meant for it. It is just, by the way, discussed that various things are possible. Only aim is Kaivalya. However, various kinds of this tapasyas, so I will do this tapasya, do this this way, in this one asana, or not eating this, or doing one particular kind of thing. So this everything can be a discipline, or austerity, that where you, as if you tax yourself, maybe your body or your mind, and various ways, that you do not eat, or eat only one thing, or eat only little this way, etc. Tapasya. So they have a certain kind of aim other than this, the highest truth. So as I refer to this Bhagavan Buddha story, he was also doing that. And then what happened? It is said that he was so emaciated, Siddhartha was so emaciated, that his stomach, from his stomach you could feel his spine. So to say, so he was just skin and bones, and then some minstrel going by, and he singing the song that do not tighten the strings of your instrument, musical instrument, so much that they will break, and do not leave it too loose that the proper note will not be generated out of it. So they must be perfectly tuned, then only it can play a harmonious tone. And Buddha listens to that song, and somehow he understands his mistake, that he should not do, it would be foolishness to famish himself for nothing, because it is not yielding the result. And then he decides to eat. So his other fellow people were there who were also practicing along with him. They considered him that he has fallen from the path, and they left him. After that, but Buddha is convinced, and after that only Buddha eats the payasa brought by Sujata, and then onward from 3 days from there, he attains the nirvana. So tapasvis, many times jnanis, Shankaracharya Bhagwan in Vivek Chudamani, or in various ways, even our say Upanishad, what can be a better authority than that? So in Taittiriya Upanishad it is saying, pravachanena na pramaditavyam, that you should not be delinquent in your duties, in abhyasa, in studying, and also teaching. All right? Because it is for that Taittiriya Upanishad, that portion is for, it is like valedictory for the students who are passing, who are going out. So these are the sermons to them. So that's why students are being told that you have studied all the way, you have graduated, now you are going back home. But do not be lackadaisical in your effort to teach others. Pravachanena na pramaditavyam, swadhyayam na pramaditavyam. You also study, you also teach. But also comes in the Upanishad, nayamatma pravachanena labhya. Just by, so to say, if you have mastered the subject very well, you are very erudite, you have learnt various ways of expounding them, explaining them. You are very articulate. You know all the smallest screw and nut and bolts of it very well. It does not amount to knowledge. Because Upanishad again says that when it said 2 kinds of vidya are there, para and apara vidya. So what is the apara vidya? Along with the Vedanga, Jyotisha and Vyakarana, etc., these are the 6 Nirukta, etc., these are the 6 Vedangas. They are also including 4 Vedas, which also include Upanishad themselves. So mastering the Vedas itself is not a Paravidya. Mastering Gita itself is not the higher knowledge. So knowledge is something higher, which might sprout from it, but cannot be equated with it. Higher knowledge cannot be equated with the Upanishads. It might be generated. It has to be generated within the heart of the individual. He must have it. So it also cases with the jnanis. So only this kind of knowledge, which is the product of lot of reading, learning, discussions, argumentation, etc., etc., but something else is required, that is lacking. So such jnanis are also inferior to yogi. Such tapasvis are also inferior to yogis. Similarly, here other categories taken, karmis, who are doing lot of karmas for this result or that result, especially karmas which are mentioned in the Vedas, that is karma kanda, different yagas, yajnas. They always have some result of this world or hereafter as their objective. Like if you do this many Ashwamedha yajnas, then you will attain Indrapad hereafter, or you will attend this Pitruloka, Chandraloka, etc. You will live in your with your Pitrulokas, with your Pitars. There you will live there, etc., etc. Or here you will win over your enemy, or you will win over some other kind of thing, or wealth. So do this kind of yajna, karmas. So yogi is certainly superior to this third category also, because yogi is after the search of this truth. He is superior. So in whatsoever practice in this yoga, we will see and we learn that maybe you are devotee, maybe you are jnani, maybe you are karmi. Essentially, process happens for all of them in the same way. And yoga deals with that process which happens within the mind, within the heart of the individual. It relates to the, therefore, it's a direct approach. That's why it is called as Raja Yoga also. How mind functions, what are the hindrances, how the concentration is to be achieved. So that is the path of the yoga. So be direct, be after the truth that nothing whatsoever of this world is worthy of man's effort and all his pursuit. So that's what Bhagavan is saying. Tasmad yogi bhavarjuna, be yogi, means be spiritual. That is the idea. Be spiritual, Arjuna. That this everything having lacking that element of spirituality or search of truth, if it is lacking, then it is inferior only. This is no better than worldly. So this is what Bhagavan says, that Arjuna become a yogi. And then he says again further that yoginam api sarvesham madgate nantaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yukta tamomatah. What does he say? He says, among these yogis also. Now, hereafter, you not only hereafter, means earlier also, these kinds of ideas come. Krishna is speaking, Bhagavan is speaking, and he speaks in three ways. One time he refers himself as Krishna, as a friend of Arjuna, his mentor, and he will give direct practical advices of what to do and what not to do, mostly in worldly matters. That is one thing. Then he refers himself as, in all the time he is saying me, and in what state of consciousness, in what state of awareness Bhagavan is at that point of time, it matters. So when his knowledge of his divinity is high up and he is referring himself as Avatar, then you will see his teaching, and mostly you will see the upasana or bhakti. He will be speaking to those words. And when he identifies himself to the highest truth, the non-dual truth, then he will be speaking Advaita. And all these ways, all these times, in all these instances, he is saying me only. He is saying me. So here Bhagavan is saying that among all these yogis, yoginam api sarvesham, all yoginam api. So api means also, and among these all these yogis, this where this api or also is connected, you will know that madgatena antaratmana, that one who is devoted to me, madgati, that whose, and madgatena antaratmana. Antaratmana, here it is in third case, instrumentive case. So antaratmana means his inner antar, that is inner, atmana, heart or inner self, that from his heart, with the help of his heart, if we speak in the terms of grammatically correct way, that is the instrument, through his heart, through his inner self, antaratmana, he is given to madgatena, that only devoted to him, me. Madgatena, to he is only devoted to me, that his all gati is me only, that everything leads to me only. Gati is motion, isn't it? So everything leads, that person has practiced and trained his heart, his mind in to go to God, to seek refuge in Him all the time, whatever may happen. In all thick and thin, good and bad may happen. It is the training. So all these yogis who have this devotion, who is constantly devoted to me, forever devoted to me, and from his inner heart, not from the external behaviors, not by just external behavior. He is devoted to me, constantly remembering him who, Krishna, as the avatar, that God had born in the form of a human being. We see that in this 6th chapter, that 4th chapter, 6th verse, I again and again I referred that, where Bhagavan says, what does he say? Ajopi san avyayatma bhutanam ishwaropi san prakrutim swam adhishtaya sambhavami atmamayaya. That though the Atma, which is Aja, which is unborn, that is also meaning undecaying, which is unborn, it can never die. It can be never destructed. That's why Avyaya Atma, which can never be spent, which can never be reduced. So that is inscrutable Atma, that the truth, referring to the Brahman, which is never born, which is Kutastha, which does not go anywhere, which is not product of something. That singularity, that Brahman, that principle, and also which is also the ruler, Ishvara, of all beings, Bhutanam Ishwaropi San. The truth is like that, the Brahman, the infinite, where there is no concept, no idea of personality, no idea of duality. On the other hand, there are various jivas, myriads of the beings, and there is a ruler of it, Ishvara, Bhutanam Ishwaropi San, that Brahman, and this, then again Ishvara, though this is also reality. And then said Bhagavan that Swam Prakrutim Adhisthaya, presiding over on my nature, on my Prakriti, I take birth, Sambhavami, I take birth, Atma Mayaya, through the help of my Maya. That these three realities are one. They are not distinct and different. Though they are distinct, there is this thread that which is Brahman is also Ishvara and also take birth as human being through his Maya, presiding over his Prakriti. Prakrutim Swam Adhisthaya, Sambhavami Atma Mayaya. So, the one who is devoted to me such that Bhagavan says, and Shraddhavan is so faithful that he does not see him as a human being, though the human form, not a human being. He is that Ishvara. That's why Ishvara Avatara. Ishvara's another form, in the form of a human being. Because I cannot see, or I will not understand God unless He is something within my realm, in my ways. I can appreciate His grandeur, His infinity. God is infinite always, in any form. Whether it is Brahman, whether it is Ishvara, or whether it is Ishvara Avatar. No human being can compete, can equal Him ever. Shambhu, I have referred to this from Vachanamrut time and again, that Shambhu Malik asked that how to know God. Sri Ramakrishna said that when God takes the human form, He behaves like a human. He weeps, cries, that he tells the story that when Rama is consolably weeping, when Sita was abducted by Ravana and he did not know where Sita had gone and what has happened to her, somebody has forcefully kidnapped her. And he is asking, sobbing that, and asking to every tree, every animal he is meeting, coming across. He is asking that who has taken my Sita? And Parvati is saying that, is this the Purna Brahma Narayan? So Sri Ramakrishna says, this is how it is. That when that Purna Brahma Narayan comes in the form of a human being, he behaves like a human being. And then Sri Ramakrishna says that only 12 rishis, they knew that he is Narayana himself. Not even Kaushalya or Dasharatha they knew. They did not have this knowledge that this is the God himself. He did not. Only few rishis knew that he is Narayana himself. Now, so the devotee asked this question, that how to then recognize God? If he takes the human form and behaves like a human, then how is he different? Sri Ramakrishna answers him that he says, from his actions. From his actions. Now he does not elaborate, but I was thinking that what does it mean? How to know if actions are going to be somewhat symmetrical like human beings? We see the proof of it in the life of Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna, he said very explicitly, leaving no quarters for any doubt to his disciple Narendranath Swami Vivekananda, that he is the one who was earlier born as a Rama, who was earlier born as a Krishna, is the same being born in this time as Sri Ramakrishna. Have no doubt. It is not from some philosophical sense, but in real, in words. Literally, that is Sri Ramakrishna implied. Now, if he is Ishwara Avtara, his very simple, his life is there. There are no extraordinary feats. No, he is not killing some demon or lifting some mountain or jumping over some ocean. What is extraordinary about him? The extraordinary is his spirituality. It is his control of senses. It is his concentration of mind. How extraordinary it is? We have to try that. And then very easily we can understand how extraordinary Sri Ramakrishna is. That his mind is constantly rushing into samadhi and he has to keep it pulled down below through some trivial desires, with the help of some trivial desires. Whereas I cannot concentrate my mind enough. That is the difference. This is what tells that he is God incarnate himself, and I am but the ordinary, very insignificant Jiva. That he is Ishvara, I am Jiva. I can never be able to have a match, even a fraction of it, a dust of it. So this is the realization. So, when a devotee is remembering that God, that human form, he is contemplating upon that God, that divinity within that Purna Brahma, which is manifesting through human qualities and human behavior. It is at its highest, brightest, and most glorious. No human being can ever match that purity, that sanctity. And God comes and shows the way that this is possible. See, so it is all the time through these behaviors, through these attributes, through these characteristics of that human incarnation, we are all the time contemplating upon that Brahman itself. Brahman itself. That's why we sing Ram Nam Sankirtan, Shuddha Brahma Paratpara Ram, Kalatmaka Ishvara Ram. These are the first two lines of that Ram Nam Sankirtan, which is sung every Ekadashi day. What are the two first lines? That Shuddha Brahma Paratpara Ram, that pure, the highest, the non-duality, the singularity, that is principle, that is Ram. Ram, he's saying Ram, that form, the son of Dasharatha, is meditating on that Shuddha Brahma Paratpara. Also, Kalatmaka Parameshwara, the same idea here, which the verse just now I referred, Ajopi San Avya Atma, and Bhutanam Ishwara Upisa. Brahma, Ishwar, and avatar. This Trinity. So Shuddha Brahma Paratpara Ram, Kalatmaka Parameshwara Ram. And then also, then he is Dasharatha Nandana, Kaushalya, Sukhavardhana, etc. Ghora Tataka, Tadita Ram, that killing that Tadaka, that is also Ram, that is the Brahman. That is the non-duality that is expressing itself. That is the Atman in its brightest, in its most glorious. We remember God, the form of God, and through it we are all the time meditating on that principle, that consciousness only. Sri Ramakrishna has said it put it in a very beautiful way. He said that Ishvara Avtaras, they are as if the windows to the infinity. We are all the time, we are meditating on that, we are pursuing, we are aimed at that infinity. Avatara is just a help to it. Avatara facilitates it for us. He shows it that if you progress in that direction, this is how it could be. So you cannot go this way, just practice this. Just practice the virtue. We worship him, we try to become him. That's why I said God realization is becoming God. I am worshipping Ram, I am following his footsteps, trying to become. He was truthful. And he had so different virtues we see whenever he had promised. So he will not turn back from his promise. His behavior in such a way to his friends, pardoning his enemies, counteracting his enemies, facing challenges, etc., etc. Various ways his character is explained, and a beautiful ideal is formed, kept before us in the form of that lucid story. We imbibe that, we try to emulate that, we try to become that, we set the standards of our living to that higher pedestal, so that when we proceed there in that direction, we see and we know eventually. That is the window to the transcendence. All the time we are pursuing the same thing. So Bhagavan says, Shraddhavan. Shraddha is seeing that Brahman. This is the essence of Shraddha. Seeing divinity. Without divinity, without the sense of divinity, there is no Shraddha. So when it manifests, then only it is Shraddhavan. And he bhajate yomam, such an yogi, who is among all these yogis, who is constantly devoted to me, and he is Shraddhavan. He is endowed with that spiritual insight. He does not see him as human. He sees as the divinity incarnate, divinity condensed. And he is only after pursuing that purest form of divinity. That's why he does not talk of the world, seek of the world, pursue of the world. That's why he is the purest, because he is Shraddhavan. He is not just, we is many times subservient to the powerful people. That is not Shraddha. You are going down to the powerful someone. That is not Shraddha, because it lacks divinity. Its aim is not spirituality, the truth, the transcendence. Its aim is not that. That is not therefore Shraddha. Shraddha is only Shraddha when its aim is transcendence, when its aim is highest truth, and you see that manifest in any way, in whatsoever path, in whatsoever action, in whatsoever person, objective, anything, object, anything. Then you are Shraddhavan. Your orientation of your heart determines whether you are Shraddhavan or not. That is Shraddha. And with this Shraddha, he bhajate, that he is worshipping. He is worshipping me, that God, that Godhead. That's how he sees me. That he knows truth absolutely. And he is, and Bhagwan says that thus such a yogi, in my opinion, is the best one. Yukta tamo. Yukta, yukta tara, yukta tama. That such a person, that he is the absolute best. He uses the superlative for such a person. He is yogi, given to this path, constantly devoted in that pursuit of truth, and he is devoted to him. He is Shraddhavan, and with that Shraddha, he is worshipping him. He is the Yuktatama. Yuktatama me matah. In my opinion, he is the best one. So, this is how Bhagwan concludes, and he takes forward this thought in the 7th chapter also. Here, the 6th chapter ends. We will have some discussion on these ideas with related to this 6th chapter. This is the very important and very essential, the philosophical part of Srimad Bhagavad Gita in these first 6 chapters. It is concluded. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.